Hello, I'm Jeffrey Weiss from the Survive and Thrive Coaching Network and the Preparedness Network. I want to welcome you to this exciting new series called Chapters. Chapters celebrates the almost 70 books published by John Maxwell, and though he is the world's #1 resource for leadership today. We'll be diving deep into various books of John's and talking to specific chapters with these books with some certified John Maxwell coaches. If you'd like to find out more about John C. Maxwell books and to get a referral to a certified coach like me, we'd be happy to connect you and find the right coach for you. Whether it's for your personal or business, we have the good people for you. Below you'll find links to our various mastermind classes and workshops that we host during the year. We also host customized trainings for your business, so check us out. If you'd like to find out more about this, please contact me at 818-624-4242, or you can email me at jeff@preparednesstv.info. Today, I'm pleased to be speaking with Lillit Cholakian, an executive coach and corporate facilitator, on the book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. Lillit will be sharing her chapter, Awareness, with us today. There's going to be a two-part conversation as the chapters we're diving in has a lot of really important points to make. I also want to talk with Lillit about what she's doing as a valuable executive coach and corporate facilitator. So stay tuned after this video for another video with Lillit. Thank you. I want to welcome Lillit. How you doing?
Thanks. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Great. So you've been to a lot of the John Maxwell events, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I've joined John Maxwell team in 2015, and all the way up to COVID year, I pretty much attended most of his events. So it's been a wonderful experience.
That's great, and yeah, mostly all the in-person ones, right?
Yes. I only attended, I believe, one or two online since COVID year, since 2020. But until then, always in person, because it's a different experience. When you're in the room with all the people of value who add value to each other, and that's John's motto.
That's it.
We value people and we add value to each other. It's always really.
That's the best way to add value to ourselves, right?
Exactly, absolutely. We can't give what we don't have, right? So once we add value to ourselves, then we have so much more to give to others.
Absolutely. I was looking at your bio. You have a bunch of degrees and stuff like that.
Yes, I do have my bachelor's and my master's. My background is management information systems and accounting, and I've done my master's MBA, and I've done multiple certifications, starting with John Maxwell's coaching certification, speaking and training, and also moved into other coaching certifications. Like we said earlier, is we got to keep growing ourselves to be able to grow, to help others and grow them as well. So yeah, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy learning, and I enjoy constantly learning new tools that will help others as well. Not only me, it helps a lot for personally. I started John Maxwell team for my personal growth, yet it expanded into the business, and I realized that's where I was meant to be, coaching and mentoring and helping others.
And so what about this book resonated with you?
I started the John Maxwell journey for personal growth purposes, to be better myself, to elevate and improve my own abilities, my own speaking abilities, everything all around. And that book kind of, first of all, a friend of mine gave it to me as a gift, and that's the one I started reading first. But yet I realized that was a starting point for me to first know myself and grow myself. And John talks in that book, you cannot grow yourself if you don't know yourself. So
right.
That was a great starting point in my experience, in my journey of growth.
So the chapter you chose is awareness, right?
Yep, the law of the awareness, the second chapter.
What about this chapter is different than a little bit different, because they're all great chapters, but what about this chapter was a little bit different for you?
I want to share analogy to tell you why this was important, what was so important about this chapter. If you think of seeds, you take a seed and you look at that seed, you know it's an apple tree seed or it's a flower seed, right? You look at that seed and you see, because you know what the product is, you can visualize it, but you're just looking at the seed. what you do with that seed, you got to plant it in the environment. You got to water it. You got to give the fertilizers on all of that to make sure that it grows and you can reap the fruits of it. So this chapter for me actually became that seed. If I'm not aware of my own strength, of my own weaknesses, of my own capabilities and abilities and the gifts that God has given me, I cannot grow it, right?
Yes.
So that's why this became that seed for me that helped me really start growing and recognizing myself, who I am, my strengths and weaknesses, my communication styles, everything, to be able to grow and improve. And like I said, I joined the team to personally grow, and I couldn't grow until I had that level of self-awareness. So that's why I believe in my coaching practice, I always look for people who have that level of self-awareness. That's the starting point. And that's what I believe strongly.
Maybe we should just start by defining what awareness is, because awareness can mean a lot of things.
Oh yeah, it means a lot of things. And you can, I mean, if we even go deeper, there's internal awareness, there's external awareness. What I got out of this book, awareness in general terms, is knowledge and perspective about things in our lives, about things about ourselves, right? So, and even the perspective can be really subjective too, because everybody's perspective goes through the filter of our own experiences, of our own beliefs. So awareness in general, it's a knowledge and perspective about something. But when I read this chapter multiple times, and I've done mastermind groups with this book, through this book, and every time I taught on this chapter or we did facilitation or discussion, every time I think about that self-awareness, it's going within. We need to go within to understand ourselves, and that's the understanding, that's the definition of self-awareness. Who am I inside out? Like, it's an inside job. Do I know my strength? Do I know my weaknesses? Do I know what makes me cry? What makes me laugh? What gives me the passion? What is my why? All those questions, that's internal. It starts with internal self-reflection, internal discovery, basically. So to me, that book, the chapter of awareness, is self-discovery.
Self-discovery, that's nice. That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. And you get it helps you give. When you discover where you are, you can then have that gives you a foundation of where to build on. I got out of it that the awareness is being aware of where you're grounded at. Mm-hmm. When you're standing. When I stand up, like when I speak a lot of times, I stand. I make sure I stand when I speak, and I look at my feet, and I'm grounded. Yep. And I think that gives me a sense of awareness, knowing where my foundation is, mm-hmm. and then by knowing where my foundation is allows me to build what I want to build. So if I want to build my business, I want to build my career, I want to build my character, I want to build anything, it comes from being aware of your foundation. Absolutely. And that's the one thing that I got out of the chapter.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is powerful, isn't it? Because it's almost like if you use analogy of if you go to a mall and you want to find a store, you look at the directory and you see this little star that says you're here, right? That's I am here. Now, which direction do I go? And that's pretty much the foundation, where I'm standing here now, and where do I want to go? How do I reach that destination, right? So yeah, it's powerful, isn't it?
That is powerful.
You got to have that foundation. If you don't have it, what's the starting point?
Absolutely.
Goes back to that,
In going over this, John talks about different kinds of fears: fear of discomfort, fear of unknown, fear of loss, fear of different kinds of fears. Whenever I look at people talking, like when you look at politicians talking, when you look at past people talking, when you look at people like Hitler didn't teach about hatred. He talked about fear. Mm-hmm. And so, people control each other through fear, I think.
Yeah, in this chapter specifically, when he talks about the aspects of fear, it's more of our fear that's holding us, right?
Right.
So in the aspect of leadership, leading others, how do we lead others? By using that fear, because we know fear is innate for all of us, right? Fear is, and I always say that I love the acronym of false evidence appearing real. But it's a reality. We as human beings are created. Fear, there's a purpose for fear. When we were you go back centuries ago, that fear helped save human life. When we lived in cave, when we had to have that fear to preserve life, right? But in today's world, where we live, where we're blessed to live in this country, that we're pretty much more or less much more safer. The fear of safety and fear of preservation of life is turned into the fear of success, multiple different fears that you describe, and what that holds us back. And if we do not have that awareness to stop and reflect on, okay, is this reality or is this just a fear that's holding me back? And my perspective on it is always to ask myself a question: is this a truth or is this a lie that I'm believing?
Yeah.
Right? That question really kind of puts it into a perspective. Is this really going to, let's say, they always say number one fear is of public speaking, right? And when I used to be a Toastmaster member for 10 years, and it's helped me a lot in my ability to speak in public, right? Hence, we're doing the interview here. And every time I had to get up and speak in public, I would be shaking and my knees are shaking and all that. And the fear of speaking in public would stop me from even moving forward. And I would have to stop and ask myself, am I going to be judged? Maybe yes, maybe no. I'm asking myself questions to understand if this is a truth or a lie. Am I believing in a lie? Am I not a good speaker? Well, until I get up there and speak, I wouldn't know if I am, right?
Right.
So when I think of fears, first of all, I always tell my clients, validate it. It's there for a reason. We have the fear. That's the emotion that we naturally have as human beings. First, we want to validate it. It's there. I understand it's there. Secondly, let's question it. Is it a truth or is it a lie? What am I believing? And then thirdly, what am I going to do despite the fear? We're never going to get rid of that fear. The fear is natural. We want to have that fear because there will be times when it saves our life, right?
Absolutely.
But what am I going to do despite the fear? I'm not going to get over it. I'm not going to get rid of it.
Well, I think it's like, you know, when you identify your fears, there's two things that can happen. Either it can dominate you, or you can dominate it, right?
Absolutely.
So, and the way that's the way I look at a fear. It really is two outcomes, but you've got to identify that fear.
Absolutely.
And so, how are some ways that people can identify their fears?
Well, self-reflection,
self-awareness, self-awareness.
Right.
How do I take that step? I want to become aware of my fears. So what's the steps I need to others, you know?
Number one, asking yourself, what is it that I'm afraid of, right?
Right.
Then the answer, what that answer is, then looking into the answer and finding out, is it a truth? Let's say fear of success, right? Some people have fear of failure or some people have fear of success. Let's say fear of failure, for example. I'm afraid that I'm going to fail, so I'm not going to move forward with something, whatever the project is. Well, let's identify the belief behind it. So first ask your question what the fear is, identify it, like you said. Secondly, what's the belief behind it? I believe that failure is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Then it's going to create the fear. But if I believe that failure is going to help me learn a lesson and get better at something, then I can say, well, this fear might be valid, but I can put it aside and start moving forward despite the fear. So first I identify the fear. Secondly, I identify the belief behind that fear.
Yeah.
And then third, I decide on the action I need to take to move forward. And fourthly, I take the action.
Yeah.
Those are the 4 steps I would want to say I would recommend and challenge most of my clients that I challenge them to take action is identify it, recognize it, identify the belief behind it, change the belief, replace the lie that you're believing in with the truth, speak the truth, whatever it is you believe about failure, for example. And then you decide what you're going to do, and then you take the action.
That's very.
Then when you come back, again, self-awareness and self-reflection, the 5th step will be let's reflect on it. How did that work out for me? What did I learn through the process? So if we go through this process multiple times as we face fears, it will become such a natural way of thinking and doing things and moving forward.
Yeah. In this chapter, John talks about understanding where we need to go in the future. And so we take these lessons and we take this foundation we have, we want to build on it. How can we take this lesson and build our house, build what we're trying to do?
Well, first of all, it's having that start, I'm here, knowing, having that foundation, like you said, right? This is what I know about myself now. But how do we build the house is, well, I need to design the house. I need to know what the house is going to look like, right? So what is the destination I'm trying to achieve, to get to? What is the building that I'm trying to build, being me person as a building, for example, right? And so you think about the destination, what am I trying to reach? Before I know the destination, I wouldn't know what path to take, right? What kind of tools I need along the way. So how do we get to that destination? First of all, and most importantly, I really believe in helping people find their why. Okay, I want to get to this destination, but why? What is the why behind it?
Right.
Is it just for me to live in this house or create a house for the family? For example, I'm using a house as an analogy. What is my big why behind the destination? What do I want to achieve? And then once I have that, where I am and where I'm trying to go, then find the tools and people along the way, because humans, we're social animals. We need people, we need support of each other, and we need mentors and coaches. Like you've probably experienced I've had multiple mentors in my life, and still we do, John Maxwell being one of our greatest mentors. And having the tools and the people around us to hold us accountable, that they can provide the tools, provide the mentorship, but also hold us accountable to that destination, whoever would that be. So it's very important who we, and John talks about it in this chapter, who we associate with, right? Who we surround ourselves with. And am I willing to pay the price? There's going to be a price to pay along the way to get to that destination. So when I know that I am willing to pay the price, John says, nothing worthwhile is easy. It's going to take work. It's going to take hard time. It's going to take maybe losing some people along the way, gaining some other people along the way, because we need to surround ourselves with like-minded people. So how we do it, I think it starts with knowing where I am and where I want to go.
Yeah, and one of the things that happened with me that really inspired me was when I lose certain people in my, because I move beyond that, is in choosing the right people to take that person's place. When someone moves away and they leave your sphere, you know, choosing the right person to take that person's place is a paramount. Because that's where a lot of people make mistakes. They run in and they think they want to fill that, and they fill it with the wrong person.
Exactly. Haven't we done that in our lives?
We've all, and they fill it, and because you got to fill someone with somebody who's higher than you, because people who are higher than you will bring you up, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's how you go up. You know, it's harder to climb a ladder alone. It's easier to climb the ladder with someone who's above you, who's pulling you up, right?
Absolutely. John says it right. If you're on the top and you're climbing alone, you're a hiker, right? That's what he says. We don't want to be hiking. We want to be pulled and inspired by somebody that we aspire to be like. And John talks about it in this chapter, right? Yeah. People that you want to be like, you aspire to be like, and being pulled by them, whether they're going to be personally in our lives one-on-one, or is it through their books. A lot of times we have mentors is through their books and through their life experiences and teachings as well. Yeah.
When John talks about in this book, he says self-awareness doesn't just stop when you become aware of this level, because then you build your foundation and then you continue on, and then you become, and then there's a second level and a third level of awareness, right? So maybe you can comment about, you know, the continuing awareness, because you become aware of different aspects of yourself, and things become more clear as things go on. So much.
Yeah, I love that question. Every question is wonderful, but that one specifically, because I really believe that self-awareness is not a one-time thing.
Right.
It's a process. It's a journey. And like I said, that seed, you have that awareness. Okay, I got it. What do I do with it? I can take that apple tree seed and put it in my purse and leave it there. Will I gain a fruit out of it? Will I see a tree out of it? Absolutely not.
Right.
So to your question is, yeah, we have that awareness, but if we don't do anything with it, we're not going to reap the fruits and the benefits of having that awareness. So absolutely changing once I have that awareness and having recognition of what do I need to do to now have the tools, have the people in my life to grow in that area of my life, whether it's spiritual, whether it's mental, whether it's relational, whatever area of our life. Like you said, it's applicable to every area of our life. But then once I grow, then I become a different person. I'm at a different level. So and you said it's the level 1, level 2, but it's more than that. It's ongoing. It's becoming a process of journey of who you are already.
Right.
And I love when John talks about reflection. It's like if we don't stop and reflect, we don't know how far we have come, what the changes have happened, what are the characters that have built within me, and what are the gifts that have developed, and even more so have developed in me. So the awareness never stops. It's almost like, to me personally, it's never a level. It's ongoing constantly. Because we, in a lot of ways in our lives, we're peeling the layers of things that we have learned through experience, through heredity. We have gifts and inner wiring that's heredity. It's the way God wired us, right?
Yeah.
But there's things, the layers that have added through experiences, the environment, the people that we've had in our past life. So as you're peeling some layers off, or as you're learning through your experiences currently of your strengths and weaknesses, you're learning a new tools. You're learning a new ways of looking at life and approaching life. So now, as I'm reflecting, I'm not seeing the same thing I saw 10 years ago, but now I'm seeing something else. And that speaks to a potential that God has given all of us. We all have this great potential that takes time to develop. So awareness, the self-awareness, is a process. It never stops.
Yeah.
It always requires us to be brutally honest with ourselves and constantly driven to be even better every single day. And I love this chapter, and that's why I said I've gone back to this chapter multiple times, because it helps me reevaluate first different areas of my life, but also, okay, where have I come? Where else am I going?
John talks about the responsibility of awareness. And so I become aware, but I have a responsibility to others to help them become aware, because, and that actually helps me become more aware of where I am. Talk about that. Talk about the people's responsibility
To others.
To others, yes.
That's a great question. And as a coach, I've learned through my experiences, so basically doing coaching and mentoring since 2015, more so than before that, I've learned that I cannot help anybody who doesn't want the help, doesn't have the awareness, or needs help according to their reality. And I realized that my responsibility, and that's an external awareness, I call it an external awareness, my responsibility as a leader, as a person, as a mother, as a friend, as a family member, is to be the role model.
Yeah.
Role model to others, whether it's to my children or it's to my friends or my coworkers or the people that I coach, is what the benefits of the self-awareness are, how it has helped me to grow. I cannot change people. I cannot force them to have that level of self-awareness. So I really believe my responsibility to others, first of all, is to be aware how my communication style, my strength, my weaknesses are viewed by others. John talks about leadership, definition of leadership. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, right? So if we want to have an influence with people, not on people, and I always like to make that distinction, because with people, we influence our children, our friends in a positive way by being who we are, by being the role model, right? So if we want to have an influence with people, we want to be aware, how am I influencing this person? By the way I communicate, by the way I interact, by my values, by my actions, right? So the way I influence, that's my responsibility. Be aware how that influencing others, but also be the role model. The second responsibility, I have to be the role model for the other person. Outside of that, it's out of my control if they will choose to take that journey.
And that goes to another point of John's is, and the things that we've learned is that the only way to grow your influence is to share your influence with it, because it doesn't, you can't grow it by keeping it. It's not like, oh, I have this money and if I put it keep it in my bank, it's going to grow. Well, no, you have to give your influence away. And that's how your influence grows, is by giving your influence to other people.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's
how
thing.
Great leaders empower others.
You have 2 wonderful daughters, right?
Yes, I do. I have 2 daughters.
Right, great. And are they embracing some of this teaching?
They are. I think by being a role model in their life, I'm hoping that, and, as a parent, you always know that, in retrospect, You see that the lessons you were role modeling and teaching, they eventually pick it up. And as a parent, I learned to be patient. And this lesson I learned like years ago when I talk a lot about communication. Like when you, in relationships, obviously that's very important. So we could understand each other. So if you're thinking something, but you're saying something else, that person has no way of knowing it. Or if you're saying something and the person is not listening to you, you're not getting the feedback if the person heard, how do you know if the communication happened, right? So I've talked a lot about that, helping my children understand the communication, the way it happens. And one experience helped me realize that, oh, they're listening. Like years later, while I listened to their conversation with the friends and themselves, I realized it works. So that kind of helped me be patient and be who I am in every moment of my life, in every area of my life, to be that consistent leader. Whatever I speak, I practice what I preach. That's what I want to be always. I'm not perfect. Sometimes, I believe me, none of us are perfect. And sometimes we make the mistakes that we wish we didn't. And that's where the chapter of self-awareness comes back into the picture, that I go back and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, if you think you're perfect, you're not aware.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I hope you enjoyed this dive into the 15 invaluable laws of growth and the chapter of awareness with Lillit Cholakian. Stay tuned for another video as we talk with Lillit about her career in coaching and what she's doing with the Maxwell system. We appreciate hearing from you on how you like this series. Please leave some comments down below and remember to like and subscribe and share this channel with your colleagues.